In this episode, I finally get to something I've been putting off for way too long. My top 10 decks of 2021. I'll be giving away a couple of brand new sealed copies of decks featured herein. Plus, I announced the date and time of my next Playing Cards Kickstarter campaign, The Successor. All that and more for the best in content for the playing cards enthusiast and tabletop enthusiast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. The most popular videos on this channel in the several years since its inception have been my top 10 card decks compilation videos. After 2 years in a row of putting them together from 2018 to 2019, I took 2020 off, thinking the global health crisis really put a huge damper on figuring out what decks deserve to be in what spots. But I think a return to ranking my favorite decks of the year is long overdue, so I finally sat down almost 5 months into the new year and took a good hard look at my favorite releases from 2021 to determine my top 10 playing card decks of the year. Before we get into it, I'd be remiss to not mention that you won't find my 2021 playing cards deck release, The Tale of the Tempest, designed by Lautrec with cards printed by Cardamundi, on this list, although it's safe to say that was my favorite release of last year for obvious reasons. It would be really hard to justify placing my own deck at number one after all, while still keeping a semblance of objectivity. Although we were honored by several third-party bodies of interest for our contribution to the playing cards world, including a third place overall from the Deck of the Year Awards presented by Portfolio 52. If you are still looking to nab a copy of the Tempest decks for yourself, you can do so at TheGentlemanWake.com, link in the description below. I'll have some more info about the next TGW branded deck, the Successor, a little later in this video. For now, let's start the countdown to my favorite deck of the year with number 10. It wouldn't be a TGW Top 10 deck video without a contribution from Thirdway Industries and designer Giovanni Moroni, making the cut, and 2021 is no different. The prolific artist had several releases, but none stood out more than the Black Market deck. Debuted here on this channel in August of last year, Giovanni's latest attempt at cultural critique and satire lands with the artist's usual eclectic flair. Featuring UV reactive inks, the Black Market deck takes traditionally inspired quartz and infuses them with hidden messages, shining a proverbial light on the darker aspects of society. The Jokers are especially inspired. Perhaps the deck's only shortcoming is a relatively standard tuck case that lacks the foil embossing bells and whistles we've seen from Thirdway Industries in the past. Number 9 on my list is ONDA by Jocu Playing Cards, brought to fruition by Italy-based couple producer Anthony Holt and artist and designer Alessandra Gagliano. The ONDA deck exemplifies what makes Jocu Playing Cards such a force in the playing cards community. This, their fourth project, is a beautiful example of what it means to bring new design ideas to an age-old medium. The deck's title is the Italian word for wave, and the liquid motif is explored beautifully within. The courts feature a collection of fantastically illustrated figures with their hair floating among abundant sea life. There are several versions of the deck, but my favorite is the Ultramarine edition, which features a tuck case with 4 foil layers and elegant blind embossing. The full bleed card backs, which feature what looks to be the image of a couple of orange koi swirling in a pond, are just as elegant. Normally with these lists, I try to avoid placing reprints or reissues of existing decks within my countdown. Frankly, there's so much great stuff year to year that it's tough to find space to laud a design we've already seen in some form or another. However, every once in a while, a designer can breathe enough new life into a project that my rules bear a little breaking. The 8th entry on my list comes from top 10 mainstay designer Jackson Robinson's King's Wild project. Part of Jackson's subscription service, the Federal 52 collection reimagines the decks that put King's Wild project on the map, serving as an entry point for new fans and collectors who might otherwise be put off by the pricing the original Federal 52 collection demands on the aftermarket. Jackson repackaged the original currency-inspired decks into new, more succinct tuck cases. However, new tuck cases aside, there are other changes made that bear mention. The decks were embellished with holographic foil that really make the designs come alive and bring them in line with the safeguard techniques seen in modern currency. Although I'm a fan of the original more elaborate tuck cases, the new cards are certainly eye-catching, with the Black Reserve Note being my personal favorite. If there's one issue I have with these, it's handling. The decks are quite thick and stiff. I know Jackson is particular about how his art looks on the cards, so I think he's made some sacrifices to make sure the artistic vision was properly realized. Staying within the world of King's Wild project, my number 7 deck of the year is the Alice in Wonderland playing cards. Jackson has always enjoyed exploring works of literature in the public domain with decks based on Beowulf, Robin Hood, Wizard of Oz, and of course Sherlock Holmes. This deck comes packaged in a glorious full-color tuck case with gold foil and deep embossing. The characters of Lewis Carroll's fable make for fantastic court card subjects, and each suit features its own artistic treatment that gives them all a cohesive yet visually distinct woven carpet vibe. The back design is my least favorite aspect of the design. However, I know the intent was to marry the clockwork gears with trippy vegetation. The Jokers feature a wonderful diptych image of Alice as she tumbles into the Wonderland, complete with several King's Wild project Easter eggs like the crayon deck tumbling beside her. Number 6 on my list is the phenomenal King Hood deck by Arc Playing Cards. There were several editions released, but my favorite is the Gold Sunrises edition, found in this elegant white gold box set. Everything about this set screams opulence and attention to detail. The tuck box of the Gold Sunrises edition, like its lunar counterpart, slides out from a premium die-cut sleeve to reveal a full-color, sculpturally embossed design that feels wonderful to the touch. Together, the two decks form a diptych image of two animal-like knights jousting on horseback. The lore of this deck is set in a fictional world where the anthropomorphized animals, as seen in the wonderful court cards, rule the land. The cards have eye-catching indices with metallic ink details, and the pips are unique and custom. I especially like the Jokers and the Aces with their coat of arms shield-like presentation. When I'm selecting decks for these top 10 lists, I often find myself looking for decks that truly check off all the boxes: artwork, motif, tuck box, handling, technique, etc. And I'm happy to report that all of the decks that lay in front of us satisfy that checklist and do so handsomely. Number 5 on my list is from designer Elettra De Ganello. The Florentia, Antigua, and Nova decks celebrate the impact of the capital of the Italian Renaissance, the city of Florence. Although both decks in the series are undoubtedly beautiful, my favorite of the two is the Nova edition, which marries classical style with modern touches to a contrasting and alluring effect. The tuck case features deep sculptural embossing, perfect for the deck's motif, and a yellow hollow foil strip that just demands attention. The Aces all feature illustrations of famous Renaissance sculptures, including Michelangelo's David. The court cards are a who's who of medieval Florence, with each figure represented as if carved from marble by the best sculptors of the era. Elettra is known for her more bold and striking line work, but she nails the sculptural style and depth of these illustrations and still manages to inject some modernity by having the same yellow tone on the tuck find its way as a highlight color on the faces of the cards. In fact, the shade of yellow is UV reactive, adding even more modernity to offset the classical subject matter. The striking card backs take the design choice up a notch with metallic baby blue ink used to offset the yellow as well. Number 4 is one of the few mass-produced decks to make it on my list, but it's here for several reasons. For one, it's the most Magic-friendly deck in this collection. The Pioneers Playing Cards, produced by Ellusionist and designed by the ultra-talented Oban Jones, are a fantastic example of a new design that feels like it's been around for a century. That's no easy feat. The tuck boxes feature a beautiful design printed in letterpress on nice cotton-like eggshell paper. The old world illustration on the front of the tuck offers a peek at the beauty of the card backs within. Designed as an homage to the Chicago World's Fair of 1893, the deck oozes vintage vibes. The court cards are redone classic courts in vibrant red and yellows and deep blacks and blues, updated enough to feel fresh, yet instantly recognizable. Vintage pips and indices remain clear and legible, but consistent with the themes. A color change double backer and a split gaff add some Magic functionality, but the most Magic-friendly feature is that these cards are marked readers more accurately, easy for magicians to divine, yet hidden well enough to never spark a shred of spectator doubt. To top it off, they are printed by Cartamundi on their slimline stock with B9 linen finish, my favorite and preferred handling stock and finish combo in all of playing cards. The number 3 deck on my list is from friend and TGW collaborator Lorenzo Gagiotti, aka Stockholm 17. Despite Lorenzo's amazing contributions to the playing cards world over the last decade, 2021 served as a bit of a quiet year, but with Oddfellows, Eye of the Ocean, and the upcoming 17th Kingdom decks set to join his most recent Notorious Gambling Frog deck as a 2022 release, it seems to be the quiet before the storm. His one major release of 2021, the 52 Plus Joker Club deck, is a masterclass on how to create a gorgeous and functional standard deck of playing cards, the kind you would be proud to pull out on game night. Limited to 999 and available only to club members, the 2021 club deck features an incredibly ornate and beautiful tuck box with die-cut openings, 2 nesting layers, brilliant gold foil, tactile embossing, and a unique numbered label seal. The cards printed by the Expert Playing Card Company include gorgeous gold foil on the backs and fronts, and the court cards are classic, traditionally inspired, yet redrawn in Lorenzo's unmistakable style. The card backs iterate on the club's mascot, the Jester in the Half Moon, in shimmering foil with thin poker borders. Perhaps my favorite aspect of the deck are the pips on the spot cards, the perfect example of a small detail going a very long way. The tips of the club, diamond, heart, and spade pips look as if they've been dipped in gold. On the subject of looking like something's been dipped in gold, what you are looking at right now is the gorgeous Successor Sarcophagus Deluxe box set, limited to only 400 units with its zinc alloy gold tone plated sculpted lid. It weighs 6 kilograms or 4 pounds when loaded with decks. It's just one of the many aspects of the new playing cards Kickstarter campaign I am launching, the Successor, designed by Kevin Cantrell Studio, with tuck boxes printed by Studio Passione and cards by Cartamundi. Launching May 24th at 12 p.m. noon Eastern, this campaign is a culmination of a 2-year journey to bring you the most luxurious set of playing cards ever released. We have tuck cases with 5 foil layers in perfect registration and deep 3D sculptural embossing, and in some cases a separate foil embossed sleeve affixed with a metal relief sculpture. We have gorgeous gilded editions and cold foil adorning the front and backs of the cards. Plus, the return of the TGW brand Dynasty mainstay, the Successor Dynasty Rex. I invite all of you to please come out and show your support for what we've put together during our pre-launch live stream event that begins just 2 hours prior to the campaign launch at 10 a.m. May 24th, right here on this YouTube channel. To top it off, we are going to be giving away a bunch of really cool prizes, including uncut signed tuck cases, prototype decks, a prototype Successor Sarcophagus sculpture, and much more. I hope to see you there. Now, let's get back to the list and my number 2 position. Number 2 on my list is a gorgeous collection by one of my favorite designers, Lee Mackenzie of King and Crooks Playing Cards. Responsible for one of my favorite decks of all time, the Outlaws, Lee brings his awesome design sensibilities to a more standard casino-inspired deck, perfect for game night. The Royale's playing cards come in various editions with some notable differences between them, all of which have fantastic foiled premium tuck cases. The Classic Edition features a gorgeous deep blue back design with a thin white poker border that is truly worthy of the name Classic. Ultimately, the faces of the cards are the most alluring aspect, printed with gold metallic ink accents. The faces convey the traditional cards with an elegant and handsome execution. The index font is completely custom and a bit Art Deco inspired. The aces, including the Power Ace of Spades, double down nicely on the metallic ink ornamentation. The courts are all classic and traditionally inspired, yet augmented with more of the same metallic filigree seen throughout. My favorite edition of the Royales, however, is the Gilded Players Edition with a full bleed red repeating casino style back, gold gilded edges, and a fantastic tuck case, complete with a cigar band style sleeve, denoting the deck's limited edition and print run size. Before we go on to announce my number 1 top 10 deck of 2021, I want to congratulate my designer of the year for 2021, Russell Gray. You might be wondering why that name isn't as familiar as the usual suspects, and I'm here to tell you Russ is the best and most prolific designer you might have never heard of. Russ is the genius behind the latest Pharmacist decks from Meadowlark and the man responsible for the designs on several ultra successful deck releases from Theory 11, including the 007 deck, the Beatles decks, the Star Wars decks, and the Avengers decks, and my number 1 deck of 2021, the Harry Potter decks. Although I was a bit older than the target demographic when the Potter films made their debut in the early 2000s, I nevertheless saw what a huge and profound effect those books and subsequent movies had on the population. So really, it was only a matter of time before a playing cards producer like Theory 11 managed to snag the licensing rights to the IP. Fast forward to 2021, and Russ Gray's Harry Potter decks could not possibly embody the series of films they are based on with any more verve and perfection. As is the standard with Theory 11, the foil embossed tuck box is absolutely spectacular, filled with Easter eggs and references to the Harry Potter mythos. Available in 4 colors, each one representative of a different Hogwarts house, my favorite of which is the red Gryffindor tuck. In a break with the standard Theory 11 gripe, the cards do in fact live up to the box. A classic back design with thin eggshell borders and a slew of tiny details to pore over. These are completely custom cards. Also featuring eggshell backgrounds, the cards have beautifully ornate pips with tiny details adorning each. The aces are all great, but the Ace of Spades is a masterpiece in design, as are the Jokers. In fact, the court cards are all wonderfully accurate representations of the characters of the film series, illustrated with painstaking detail. The decks are USPCC, so you know they handle brilliantly as well. Just a fantastic all-around deck that might not have been given the attention it deserves just because of who produced it. There you have it. Do you agree or disagree? In fact, on that note, I'm giving away a couple of brand new sealed decks from this list, an Alice in Wonderland deck and a Royale's Classic Edition, to one lucky winner. And here's all you have to do to enter. 1, like this video. 2, be a subscriber to this channel. And 3, let me know in a comment below what your top 3 decks of last year were. One more time, remember, the Successor launches May 24th, 2022 at noon Eastern. Be here for the live stream event for more cool prizes. To check out another video, click on the thumbnail that will appear right here. Thank you so much for watching. I've been the Gentleman Wake. I hope to see you again next time.